Okay, hello and welcome to yet another live stream. Okay, let's see. So what's up for this week? Actually, I changed a bunch of things with my setup, so please give me a few moments to kind of make sure that everything is up and running. Wait a second. There we go. I think that's better now. Okay, hi there. Hello, Kyle. Yes, so I'm back with a live stream today. I just made sure that the stream is working all right. And let's see what's up for today. Today I'm thinking about challenging myself a little bit. I've always hated to model legs, and for one of my current jobs that I received, I kind of need to model a leg, so I'll kind of try to do it separately and focus a lot on all the things that I usually don't do well, so that it's going to work out well for the job. So I've collected a bunch of reference images in advance, quickly going through them here. I'll have them open on the side so that you can also see what I'm looking at. And I can tell a little bit about the choice and why I took them. And you guys can just feel free to ask me any questions in the meantime. Oh, hi Surgery Cat and Emily, by the way. Thanks for joining the stream. Alright, I'll just get started then for now. So I've looked for a few kinds of references. I wanted some that show entire legs so that I can get the proportions right. This one is an example for such a reference. And give me a second. Alright. Here is one that's better for the details. I like with this one how it has no color texture on it, so I can really see the details very clearly, even though it's a posed leg, but it will still help me in the progress to figure out some of the details where I want to place them. This is more about the feet. Here a bit more anatomical again. Again, no texture makes it very good for seeing the details. And with this one, I was mostly interested in the balance, because if you look only at the details, you kind of miss, for example, which angle the leg as a whole has to be in. And sort of those aspects I really thought this reference was useful for. And let's see, at the beginning there were a few more. For this one, I took it in because it was a, well, aesthetically good-looking concept. So because as in it looks, the target is something along these lines, I will take the details from like references as these, but I have to get the subtleness and kind of the outcome along the lines of this one, so it kind of should help me to stay on track. And finally, some simplifications, so that, you know, when the detail in the other ones is too overwhelming, that I can kind of, well, figure out what the basic shapes actually are. Rosa, thanks. Merry Christmas to you too. Wait, is it 23rd at your place? I think for most of you it's still 22nd. Time differences as usual. Yes, I'm back again. Hey guys, and thanks for joining the stream again, for all of you who are new. So I'll be modeling a leg, and let me just get started. So let's see. I want to try kind of a new approach today, where I do various basic shapes that intersect, and then I'll slowly start merging them together. I'm wondering what kind of primitives I should start out with. In ZBrush Core, the software that I'm working with, if you select the primitive brush and press M, you can select between cube, cylinder, and sphere. Right now I feel like spheres will be the most useful. But actually, let me give the cylinders a try. So, what have you guys been up to these days? I haven't been streaming last week. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but for me it was quite a busy week. I mean, leading up to the holidays as a student, all teachers think they have to make us do exams, so that's that. Still watching the anime tutorial. I have some good news regarding that, by the way. This is not a promise by any means, just saying, but I might be working on a new tutorial series. Depending on how good it works out, like depending on whether the result is good or not, you might be seeing that somewhere soon. But because I don't know if it will work out or not, I shouldn't say much more about it probably. But I'm glad the video tutorial is still being useful to you guys. So let me ask you then, how many parts are you into the tutorial? It has the 40 parts? Okay. So this cylinder that I'm making here should be representative for the hips. Just so that you have an idea. Oh, 20th part, not bad. So that means that you're halfway through. Okay, here's another little advice or kind of useful hint if you're working with ZBrush. If you drag the primitives up and then you scale them down again without releasing, you keep the length, but you make them thin. So that's kind of really useful for what I'm doing here. And another really useful one, when you have a selection in ZBrush, I wonder if it works also when I only have a part selected. Let me try it. Okay, apparently it only works when your whole connected mesh is selected, but when you have one part selected and you hold down Control and you drag on these manipulators, you get a copy of it in the whole in the same subtool. So that's how you do sort of copying of objects or parts of objects in ZBrush. It's quite interesting how ZBrush has so many things that are hard to find that probably most people don't know of, but that can be really useful when you know of them. Okay. So this will be sort of very roughly the bones. You can see here most of the things that you see around are muscles, but here the bones kind of protrude, so you can see them. They kind of start kind of outwards and angle inwards for the tights, but then here it kind of goes more straight. So do we have a better picture of that? Let's see. Well, I guess I don't have a skeleton reference here of just the bones, but I think you can kind of imagine. Because the hip is kind of wide. Let's see. I really dislike this photo viewer app on Windows. Like, you can't even scroll inwards, like for zooming. I always have to push this button in order to zoom in. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong. Anyways, let me see. Aristobulus asks that he's going to repeat the same question that he or she asked in 2 of my videos. Let me see. I feel a bit sorry for that. I don't mean to ignore anyone. I'm just saying that quickly. Okay, let me see. Did you delete the body parts when you 3D printed your character? Do you mean as in like if I join them or not before printing them? Oh, okay, that makes more sense. So the body parts that are covered in clothes, whether I delete them or not before 3D printing. Yeah, I definitely do reduce the whole thing into a single mesh. There are various ways to do so. For example, one very convenient and easy way is that you bring the whole model into ZBrush and you use the Dynamesh tool and the Z remesher to first join them and to then bring the topology sort of a little bit into something useful again. But there's also manual ways to do that, just by simply making sure that every object joins together. But it's just very important to be very clean in that progress. You don't want to have any volumes open inside. It should be one single connected mesh that is watertight. And hi Millennium, by the way. Thanks for joining the stream. Yeah, it's hard to answer questions alone. What are you doing, Millennium? Tell us. And in the meantime, I'll make some progress here. So for the foot, I'll probably go with a cube. Let's see. Maybe I can insert a cube and bring it into the right shape. So okay, guys, I'll be right back. Give me just a second. Okay, sorry for that. Oh, sure, Millennium, you're welcome whenever you want to join again. Right now, finally my winter break started. Until now it was very stressful because, as I said, basically all my teachers thought they had to do another exam before we can go and enjoy our holidays. But now that it's over, kind of, I get at least a week of rest. And I'll be doing a lot of 3D. I was thinking of doing like a really like a modeling marathon. It's just a challenge to myself that I sometimes like doing. Basically about how long can I continue working and be productive at once. So I would only do this very rarely, but then challenge myself to work for, I don't know, 6 to 12 hours just straight, and to do something in that time, actually, not to just sit there and to see if I'm patient enough. But I haven't decided really yet on that. So right now in the modeling of the legs here, I'm trying to just get the proportions right. That's the most important thing to do first. And the way you would do that is by taking reference points and comparing the lengths. For example, the length of the foot compared to the shin, or all these things. It's very important to try to compare them and to get these sizes right from the beginning. Even if the shape is far from being detailed or anything, these proportions will eventually make it or break it. Like, even if you have the details, if your proportions are off, it's just not going to work as a model as you probably like it to work. Okay. So this will be my basic structure for now, and next I'll try to kind of strap the muscles on top. So I will continue with more primitive objects and try to make them bring them into the place where the muscles are supposed to be, or add the volume basically. It's not going to be every single anatomical detail, but more of a rough representation of all the masses all the big volumes that we have to include in this sculpt. And I really hate when these get too close together, because symmetry will kind of make it very hard to move them apart when they're too close, but just be careful if you get to this point. So, and another thing that's really difficult for me, at least, is that it is very easy to lose kind of control over the whether it's a circle or whether it's kind of being squished and becoming an oval shape when you would cut it through. So I kind of want to try to keep it very even while doing so. If you guys have any questions, by the way, feel free to just throw them into the chat. I guess I don't have too many stories for this week, but that gives... Oh, thank you. There we go, there is a question. Does it matter the scale of the model, or does scale come after the sculpt when the model is built? From Mr. Bradley. In my opinion, it doesn't matter too much, because you can scale things up and down, and nothing will change apart from the size, right? You can, if there is a reason for it being more convenient, doing it in a different scale while modeling, why not just scale it at the end to be true to scale? For me personally, it's just a question of, in order to make this in scale, I would have to bring in a reference object, kind of measure things, and it's just a hassle, and I don't even know if I'm going to not restart this whole process again somewhere in the mid way through. So before wasting my time on that, I would rather just do it first, and then when it becomes necessary, just adjust the scaling. So unless there is not some particular situation that you're thinking about, I don't think there's much of a reason to be too cautious about the scaling right from the start. But yeah, generally speaking though, it is a very good thing to be true to scale, especially when you work for VR. I heard that things being off scale are very obvious, that you should really measure them and accurately in centimeters or whatever unit you're using. You should be using that measurement. So these days I've really been wanting to use the ZBrush Pro version because there's some limitations to this core version after all. It's very nice to get started. It's very nice to just model things, as I kind of always mention, but for example, modeling hair, you would be a lot better off if you had those special brushes with which you can make these strands and stuff. I don't know, it just came to my mind. Oh yeah, Z-spheres. I don't think I can use Z-spheres here. That would have been like a really convenient way to start off. I could have just, you know, sketched it on top with Z-spheres, but that's unfortunately some of the things that I have to skip on because it's expensive. Let me see what you guys write. I will be painting eventually. I won't be painting right away on this one because this is just a part of what I will be using in other models. So if I paint it now, I would most likely repaint it later. So I don't want to waste the effort on it. But eventually in this project I will be working with textures and rigs and everything. So if it goes well, yeah, that will be a very interesting video series that's coming up. But yeah, I'm not saying much more about that at this point because who knows if it's going to work out. And KLD asks me, I've been waiting for you to stream to ask you, if someone wants to be a 3D modeler but has no 2D or 3D experience, should you still sculpt more than you draw traditionally? Oh, that's a really cool question. I like these kind of questions personally too. Let me see. So somebody wants to be a 3D modeler but has no experience. Should they sculpt more or draw more? It goes very hand in hand, like together. I mean, it's hard to say because I know that many like artists who just draw are quite good at sculpting without ever really knowing it, but so I think eventually you will end up drawing anyways, because as soon as you start working with anatomy and you start learning all the shapes, you will realize that the only way to remember all these shapes is by simplifying them somehow and remembering them in a systematic way. And to do so, it's quite necessary to draw them, like to redraw them, to figure out how you can simplify them more and more. That means that you will get quite far with just 3D modeling, but I feel that, and there's definitely nothing wrong of, you know, when starting out completely ignoring the drawing side of things. But I feel like it's a natural step that comes after a while, that you realize that you're not getting very far, that you have to change something about the way you practice in order to make progress. And I feel that this is the moment when you will automatically, start drawing quite a bit parallel to sculpting in order to improve your sculpting skills. For me personally, when I started out doing 3D, it was 100% 3D for me. I didn't think about drawing at all, and I was very bad at drawing too, until 4 or 5 years ago. And I realized that I had to learn it because of the videos that I was watching on YouTube, people saying that it's all about proportion. But I realized that all I could do was make a model from a blueprint. So if I had a drawing from the front and the side, I could accurately copy it. But if I had nothing to base my model on, I would be so lost. And whether my strategy would be to draw my own references in order to copy them from my own drawings, or whether I wanted to just be able to do things in 3D without reference, it both would have required the skill of knowing proportion, of knowing just how to make things look good, and that's what you learn from drawing, in my opinion. So it's quite important, but I wouldn't force it like I have to do it. You will definitely do it without even thinking too much about it at some point when you feel it's necessary. Millennium, do you want to join? You're always welcome, of course. But I feel like for right now it might be difficult because I've just set up my system in a different way. I would have to bring, what is it again, Discord and stuff over on this system. So maybe next week though. But I think everybody would love to have you back for at least 1 or 2 streams. Thanks, Greeny Bug, for watching, and everybody generally, thanks for joining the stream. I'm kind of just talking to myself here. It's really weird when you think about it, but I hope you get something from it. The more you ask, the more I can tell you about stuff. So in between, I'll also be able to come up with some topics for you, but just keep asking whatever you want. Alright, so this blob kind of big shape that I made kind of represents this group of muscles over here, if you can follow my cursor. It's not quite detailed here in the upper area, but it's just in place to become what I need it to be a bit later maybe. But here's another one that I kind of want to bring in now, which is here in the inside of the leg. So let's see what I can do. I will again split it into a separate subtool so that I don't have to worry about things merging together in accident. Thanks, Khalidi, for all the questions. I like that one too, that question. How long should you practice and model on a day if you want to be on a professional level? And I'm glad that you realize that it is really a matter of practice, or I feel like you probably know that. It is really a matter of practice, and you need a lot of it in order to be professional, in order to be able to get a job in that industry. Even I don't think that I'm at the level yet of commitment that I could be in an employment situation anytime soon. I think it will, at my pace, it will at least take another 3 years if I'm able to increase the time that I'm working. Right now, I kind of have this goal for myself to work 2 to 3 hours a day. So, it could be better, but at least I have this kind of goal. But recently, I think I mentioned it on the stream before, but I was attending this TEDx event at my university, and there was an artist, a photorealistic artist from Korea, and because there were not many people at this TED event, I was able to speak with him, and I asked him a similar question, as in how much he practices and how he keeps his motivation in a way. And he answered that he really tries to do 7 hours every day, and you know, from being a professional, hearing that from him, it just once again a reminder of, yes, you actually need to work incredibly hard to get there. And but on the other hand, he mentioned that he really enjoys it, and that he really thinks the hard work paid off, that it wasn't always easy, and that it's definitely not very enjoy and like fun in the process of getting there, but from what I remember, he said that he feels that it all paid off, and that he still has a balance in his life. It's not just him committing his entire life to art. Let me see. Aris Tatilas says, I'm currently making a character but slowly working, but she's at the moment around 227,000 triangles and not finished yet. Is that fine? I know about topology, but I never tried it since I focus more on character. So by those many triangles, do you sculpt, or is that in polygon modeling? I mean, I assume you're sculpting something. There's nothing wrong about having many polygons. Absolutely nothing. I mean, you just have to look at the downsides of having many polygons. You won't be able to use it in real-time applications, as in games. It will take a very long time to render, and just the fact that it's not necessary to have so many polygons, because you can because you can make it look just as detailed with normal maps. But then, you know, often having many polygons is a necessary step in between. So okay, so you're working with polygons and some curve modifiers. Well, I'm not sure at which point it got so many, but it's if you're doing polygon modeling, it's a good idea to keep it low. One reason why it might be a very high number is if you have many subdivision surface modifiers, then you know those new subdivisions also count as polygons and triangles, so you might get a different number. But in those cases, it's just important that you keep it to a number that you can manage. Yeah, characters for games should only have around 15. I mean, you know, it really matters. It changes all the time. Something around 10k it can be more, but people will say different things. But it shouldn't be wasted. Let's put it this way. No matter how much detail you put into it, it shouldn't be wasted detail. So it's very important to think very cleverly about where to put details and where you don't need the details, and to balance it properly. So, but there is nothing wrong about, you know, it's a learning progress. So I feel like it's better for you if you just try to finish your model, do it, work with it, and see where you run into issues, and you will know where you have to try something new just from doing that. I hope that kind of helps to get further. Mr. Bradley says, the problem is speed though. You gotta be at a decent skill level, but pump that shit out fast. Well, I think that connects to the story before, about working and getting skilled. Speed, yeah, it is important to be fast, but the more I do this, I feel like there is kind of a misunderstanding as in how fast professionals actually work. I don't think professionals are that much faster than what we're doing. What they're doing is they're reusing their assets like in an efficient way. If I model these legs and they look good and they're just basic legs, nothing very characteristic for a specific character, I can reuse them over and over and over. And if I was working in a company, they would want me to reuse as much as possible. So it is very much a collected experience and collected data that professionals use. And I feel that when you work for almost 7 hours a day, you will most likely be good enough to just quickly make new things after not more than a year. So doing it so much, it's very hard not to get used to it and doing it so fast. So I don't think I'm too worried about working fast and with great skill. It kind of comes together. I kind of think if you're kind of aiming for that career, you can believe in that concept, because I haven't heard of many cases where it was the opposite, where somebody would work really hard and they wouldn't get fast or good from it. Of course, it's important to have sort of a not a too random way of learning. You need to have a system in your learning, but usually if people think about what they're doing, you try things, you realize you're not gaining much information from this, and you'll go and change something. As long as we yeah, reduce, reuse, recycle, that's perfect. It couldn't be put into better words. Yeah. Pretty much. So that's that. Let's see. Jesus Christ says, I would say, until you're confident in your skills. Everyone learns at a different pace. Yeah, I guess so. And there's nothing wrong about starting out too late. I mean, the only thing really that we have as a guideline that we might have to stick to is our life and our economic reasons. As in, maybe you have a family and you need to support them somehow. Maybe you're about to move out from your family's place and you need to support yourself. So maybe it's important to still have a plan B in whatever the situation turns out to be, to maybe have a different profession and to do 3D as a hobby. But if you have this a situation in which you can relax about financial reasons and you have time about 3D, sure, just study at your own pace. There's absolutely no reason to be stressed about having to reach any particular level soon. And even if you wanted to get this career early on and without something between, well, it's not over. You can just, you're out of university and find a different job that just, allows you to live your life. But then don't stop 3D modeling, keep 3D modeling, and then eventually go back to it as soon as you gain the skills. Could take 10 years, but what do you have to lose? Yeah, Greenybug, if you want to be a character modeler, start today. You will have to start at some point. It will be a long journey, but it pays off. It really pays off. And the only reason why a person fails at getting there is when they stop doing it and they give up in the midway. But as long as you keep striving for the same goal, and as long as you keep reflecting on your actions, and if you keep trying to improve it, if you always think about how good did this plan work out, how can I make my studying more efficient, you will, every time you make a revision on your plan, you will find a better solution, and you'll get faster at studying, and you'll figure out more, and you will get there for sure. I mean, all humans are kind of the same, biologically speaking, so there's not really a reason if we behave the same way, as in following the same principles, that we shouldn't be able to all become really good at it. But that's just my way of thinking about it. Khalil again, thanks for the many questions. You don't have to apologize for that. I've been waiting for you to come on to ask, so... Oh, okay, you're just stating that was many questions. Okay. Don't worry about it. If you have any other questions, feel free to put them here. I'll be happy to answer them. We talked about these already. So it says that apparently many people end up making very high polygon models. Yeah, I guess so, but I feel like it's just maybe because people are missing some knowledge about how to be more efficient with the polygon use. And, you know, when you want to get more detail in, you just end up using it, forcing it in, sort of. But there is nothing really wrong about that, I feel. I mean, we all go that way, I think, of starting out with many polygons and then kind of going on reducing it. Yeah, some people love many triangles though. It's alright though. Just as long as you know that it shouldn't be that way, that it's better to be efficient. You can research it, you can find solutions. So that's the most important part. Alright, goodbye Greeny Bug, who just left the stream probably. Thanks for joining. Another question, let's see. Oh, so Mr. Bradley asks if I'm just modeling a basic human or if I have a character in mind. I am actually doing this for a job of a particular character, but I don't want to share too much about the details yet. The reason why I model the legs separately is because I have not been feeling too confident about legs for a while, and in order to get them right, I just want to do them separately, as if this was a project just about legs, and my only goal is to make good looking legs. And then probably they will be turning out good, so then I can bring them back into the other project. But the other project, as I mentioned before, might become a new tutorial, the third anime modeling tutorial that everybody has been waiting for. So I just really hope that it works out well. Oh, speaking of which, so as this is also part of the video now, this might be part of the tutorial then. Anyways, I'll think about that later. I guess I have the recording through YouTube. I can just download it. My idea is to this time, if things go well, I will put everything into time-lapse about like 2 times the speed or maybe 4 times the speed, and I'll comment on everything. And because I have a lot of back and forth, even as you see me modeling these legs here, many points at which I kind of change my decisions, I will not focus on too much commenting every single back and forth step that I make, but to show you both the time lapse of the modeling, and then next to it give small presentations about in this body part you should be careful of this and this and this, and kind of point out all the different shapes. I think you will be getting the most out of it educationally in that way. But as I still have so much to decide, I shouldn't get you too excited probably. I think, good question. You have the best questions today, Kaylil. I don't know how to pronounce your name though, sorry. Kaylil D, I think that's how it's pronounced. Is it beneficial to focus on modeling characters only, or should you also know how to do environments or assets? I feel that in order to be technically good as an artist in 3D, doing various things, many things, will get you the furthest. You will, for example, if you only model characters, you will never know about how to model a car, right? It's completely different approach. I mean, you could use the same techniques as in character modeling, but you wouldn't reach results nearly as professional as somebody who focuses on cars. So I feel, especially when starting out, it might not be a bad idea to try to have variation in what you do, in order to learn how to use the software in all its aspects. But eventually, for finding a job, it is very important to specialize, because no company will hire an artist for everything. I mean, there are some companies with little budget who might want you to do a lot and might ask for a person who is skilled at almost everything. But the really good studios who have many artists who make titles that go to the world will have probably the character artist work on only characters, and to make sure and they will make sure that the character artist really knows everything there is to know about characters. So for me personally, I'm kind of through my stage of modeling various things like environments and objects. I do want to get back to it in order to learn more about ZBrush because I'm new to ZBrush still, but for me I focus mostly on characters now without going too much back anymore. Retopology. You know, there are really good tutorials out there already about retopology. I wouldn't consider myself the best at doing it anyway, so I think you should give it a try and just look for it online, Aristoteles, because he was just asking. I think you have a very good chance to find some good references. I really like how this lag is kind of working out. I really didn't expect it to work out this well, but the simplification so far of the lag seems to be very efficient. How many shapes do I have so far? Let's analyze it quickly. So this is my little bone structure. I have 2 cylinders for the hip just to put them in place. Somehow a little bit inwards, the bones, and then more straight. A cube for the feet, and then the first muscle that I put on top is this group here. Then the knees. Then the inside. Or where was it? Oh no, that's the wrong one. Then the inside of the leg, and then down here. Kind of works good. Alright, Aristoteles, can you tell me a little bit more about... So I guess you're in Blender with your high resolution model, and you want to retopologize it, is that right? Because I don't think I will be able to make a video on it, but I can give you a few hints to kind of find your way towards what helps you. So since that seems to be the case, I think what you can do, like what you will be doing eventually, is that you will start a new object in object mode. You will be entering object mode, and then you will create new you know what? I have a better idea. I'll just do a little Blender session. Let's get Blender. Can you guys see this? This is like... Let me just check if everything looks alright. Okay, seems like it's working. This is like a really simple retopology tutorial now. I'll keep it very quick. So let's say you are creating a character that is very high detailed. And by the way, this is what I said about the subdivision modifier might be what really rises up your numbers up here. If this is what you have, you might just want to disable it, and then you're back to normal. Well, let's say you applied this for some reason, or you know, you model lots of details, and that's that. So now what do? We kind of want to retopologize it. So what I'll do is I'll create a new object, because the reduced version, the retopologized version, will be in a separate object. It doesn't matter what it is, it's inside of the character now. I will just delete all the vertices and everything that's in there, but I'll still be in edit mode. Now, what I need to do is, if I hold down Control and I make a left mouse button click, I get a new vertex. But how do I make sure that it's on the surface? You basically click here, down here in this bar on the magnet. And then next to it, you make sure that the snap element is set to face. And then if you move, like I'm pressing G now to move this, and as soon as your mouse will hover over the surface of this, it will snap to the surface. And if I extrude now, see how it sticks to the surface? It will always be where my cursor is on the surface. And I can fill these shapes and see how I have now a plane on the surface. And the way how you now continue is you can make new polys by just holding down Control and clicking. But you'll be making loops similar to this. And by pressing F, you can continue closing them. If you extrude a whole edge, unfortunately, they don't all individually adapt right away, so you'll have to select them individually and kind of make them fit on it. And here your task is to include these edges and to make the flow of the polygons follow the shape of your model. So if I was going to retopologize this object here now, I would make a loop that kind of another advice, by the way, here in this tab you can select X-ray, then you will see them always. You will also see them from the opposite side, but at least you won't have a problem if you work from this side. So I'll make a loop along here. I know I'll want a loop around here and one more around here because this is the direction of where the main creases are. And so filling the faces in. And then here I kind of have a curve. So what I could do is I could follow this curved surface by doing so. And so while doing retopology, knowing the right shapes, the right ways of representing the surface is very important. And just one little advice at the end. Sometimes you'll get problems with the shading. If you get that, select everything and press Ctrl N. That will recalculate the normals and then they should be looking fine. And then at the end, you just have a new model. I can move it to a separate layer and see this is the reduced version of my character now with just like a bunch of vertices. But this is basically how it will be working. Was that useful? I hope it was. And I'll get some water. Just give me a second. So after you retopologize, you can add another subdivision surface modifier to make it look clean during render, but be careful to not export the model at that high resolution or not to kind of apply the high resolution because you don't want to lose the effort that you put into retopologizing it. Subdivision surface is only to reduce it at the, to make it smoother at the very end before rendering in order to make it look, well, higher detailed. Yeah. All right, let's see. Ooh, a question is coming up. Let's see what the question is about. I was just modeling the skirt for my anime character and I modeled perfectly, but when I applied clothes simulation, the clothes simulation was not working good. It was really weird and distorting. Yes, clothes simulation is hard, and Blender does probably not have the best tools to do clothes simulation. So what I do these days is I use a different software called Marvelous Designer to simulate the clothes, and then I will bring it back into Blender. It will not be rigged clothes, it will not be simulated clothes, it will just be a static mesh. But for making characters statically, I think that's a pretty good way to do it. Did that answer your question? Good advice from Jesus Christ. Yes, you can also use shrink wrap sometimes to Like if you need many vertices at once to go to the surface, you can use it and apply it kind of as a help. It's a bit hard to use, but I think if you look into how it works, you will figure out the way how to use it efficiently. Yeah, just keep trying. I mean, as for the topology, sorry, I didn't give the context. Yeah, keep trying and, you know, think about what does not look good yet. Think about how you can make it better. You will figure it out by doing so. So the software that I use for clothes is Marvelous Designer, or at least I would like to use it. I still don't. I really like it. I tried the trial versions and it was really good. I think this is how you write it. Aesthetic Pigeon says sometimes you see games where the face is just a flat surface with the face as a texture. What do you think of that style? I don't really know. What do you mean? Do you mean like these games where they have I mean a face, just a plane? Does that even work? Oh, it's not a bad question at all. I really like the conversation. But do you mean like those 2D, what is it, live 2D kind of approaches of making stylized characters in 3D? If that's what you mean, I don't dislike it, but it's just a decision up to the, I don't know, art director maybe. Both can look good, in my opinion. Another question from Kayla Lee. Does modeling for games take different skill set than modeling for film? I think your workflow will be quite different, as in for games you'll have to reduce and optimize a lot. For movies you'll just probably throw more and more detail at it, and tools that you use will be different and all sorts of things. But converting from a film artist to a game artist shouldn't be a matter of too much effort. I mean, it will take a year, 2 years, 3 years maybe, and you'll probably need to catch up quite a bit to the big professionals in the industry. But it's not something as in changing from drawing to 3D. That's how I see it. A plane for a face. I'm sorry, Aesthetic Pigeon. I don't know Harvest Moon or whatever that should be. I can't really comment on that. Yes, if you have a very high resolution character and you try to rig it, you'll have a very hard time. That's where all the issues start. So yeah, it's good and a good advice to go and retopologize it, because then your rigging will be a lot better. Subdivision mesh is also a solution, yeah, sure. It's really up to you. I mean, people have different preferences in that. There is, as always, not a single correct way of doing things. Yeah, and having body parts come through clothes, it's something that you will that is quite hard to deal with. It's the best if you don't have anything behind another object in the first place. So if there's no body part behind clothes, then you cannot get intersections as well. Maybe it's something a little bit to think about. But again, it's also not impossible to like have it both work together. It's just very difficult. Taylor Broad says, when working with your student tutorial, I was looking into building my own character. However, I was wondering what is the best way to draw to scale from your reference. Do you mean, I'm not sure what you mean by to scale from the reference. You can just draw over it, or is that not what you mean? All right, I'll be making some progress here in the leg now. I feel like I feel like I'm not making anything here. Let's see. Well, I think if you just want to have your own character based on the tutorial, oh, so it's a question about scale pretty much. Well, I don't think you have to worry about scale too much. You can just scale the result at the end to fit whatever height you need. And while working on it, you just basically try to match the height of your character and I'm not sure about your situation, to be honest, though. I can't really say much more. Okay, in the meantime, I can tell you what my plan is for the next couple of days. Just a few random stories. Luckily, because I really like it, in Japan, in my city where I am, they are doing fireworks tonight and tomorrow. And I really love fireworks, so I'll be going after this to see some fireworks. And then I have 2 weeks of holidays. I think I'll be very invested for the first half in working on this character, as it's one of the commissioned works that I got, and you'll be hearing and seeing more of that soon. In the second half, I guess I will then have some free time. I mean, some work to do for university, but free time as well. So I guess I'll be doing some streaming, maybe some new videos. Anyways, yeah, thanks for helping out each other in the chat there. If the character is properly proportioned, then you can just change the character scale. That's true. Jesus Christ, thank you. I think in live streaming, reading the people's names is probably the hardest part. I mean, you can get over being nervous at some point, but getting used to the names that come up in the chat is something very different. So do you guys do, what do you call it in English? New Year resolution? Like some goal setting or something for New Year? A good group of names, sure. Yeah, indeed. Taylor Broad. I just said your name. I think many people will avoid saying the names because they just know that they probably pronounce it wrong anyway, so they rather try to just stick to the content. So anyways, if you have some goals for New Year, I'd be happy to hear that. I think it's very inspiring for each other to hear them too. Personally, I feel like I want to be focusing a bit more on making my 3D a little bit into a business. I mean, I'm still the same, as in, you know, I really want to help people. I never want to make people feel uncomfortable, but as I don't have too much time before graduation, and you know, living has its costs, one of my goals is to kind of be more productive, in a sense of doing something for people who are willing to pay something. Pretty much like this job is here right now. But I've been rejecting almost all the offers that I got for the past 2 years, because I was learning. I didn't want to pressure myself too much with job offers. So my personal New Year's resolution is 4K. Oh wow, very funny. I it might be the wrong expression. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that's what I'm kind of trying to do as for my 3D career. (2017), the year of 4K. I heard they're about to start out with like 8K screens. Most people don't even have 4K yet. What do you guys think? I really like the improvements in technology though. I'm welcoming that for sure. Well, anyways. Great that you managed to get your homework turned in on time. Broad Vulture, I think. I know that feeling when it's just a couple of minutes before 12 and you finish your assignments. You must be having a good time now. Okay. Yeah, sorry for the silence. I just needed to focus for a second. I'm using ZBrush Core, by the way. The question always comes up. Okay. That should be good for now. Okay, so what can I say at this point? Do you remember at the very beginning, for those who were watching from the beginning on, I was saying that the proportions are almost one of the most important things. And I think that now, at this point, you might be able to really see why that is. I'll just finish the quick details here that I want to put in. Okay. So if you look at it from a distance a little bit, it looks quite good as legs, even though the details are completely wrong. No leg has a cylinder sticking out here. No leg has these gaps here, but it looks very well just like a leg. And the reason for this is because the grouping, the basic shapes, the proportions, and the ratio of lengths between each parts are correct. compared to each other. And so I feel that in sculpting, being able to do this is a very important skill. So please think about it if you're modeling and you want to get better. I should save it for now. I haven't even saved it once yet. Okay. Yes, Aristoteles, my mother tongue is German. I'm Austrian. And you speak German too, right? I saw you writing bitte before. Aesthetic Pigeon says, I think it's crazy how fast technology improves. It's cool, but it's weird to think that people only born a few years apart will grow up with very different technology. That's so true. And probably if you think about the changes that happened in the past couple of years, in the future, it won't even be such a big difference, but maybe just a minor one. It just feels so huge because it's all new to us. But yeah, it's crazy how fast things are going these days. So, Aristoteles, you're in Germany since 2013? 14? Cool. Well, German is hard. I'm really not good at German myself, even though it's my mother tongue. I don't know if anybody having English as their mother tongue can say that. It's just a very hard language. Somebody seems like being quite angry at Maya. I don't think there's a reason to contrast Maya and Blender, whether something is being the best or something being not so good. It's all a matter of whether the tool is useful for the project or not, whether you're able to be more efficient with it, and that can be different from person to person. So I really feel there shouldn't be too much of a comparison between those tools. And as some companies will require the use of certain tools, well, sometimes you also don't have much choice anyways. But I mean, imagine you walk into a job interview and they are asking you, so do you have skills in using Maya? And then you start screaming, no, Maya is horrible, never use that software. I don't think they'll give you a job, to be honest. So it's better to be more accepting and adapting to the environment rather than just... There is a reason for why things are being used, and it's important to share an opinion, but always to keep it rational. That's more productive, I feel. So, Aristoteles, your lectures are even in German. You must be having quite a hard time then. But I hope you enjoy your time there. It's a very good thing to travel abroad in general. I recommend that to everybody. I hear that usually, especially the people in the United States, often will not really go and study abroad because they have so much, pretty much everything in their own country. There's not much reason, I feel, to go abroad. But I feel like there is a lot to gain, no matter where you're from or how much your country has to offer, or no matter how comfortable it is in the place that you're kind of born in. Thank you, KLD. It was my weakness. I'm honestly surprised myself in how, well, decent these legs turned out. I really didn't expect it to work out this well. But at the same time, now that I'm here, I'm kind of scared to move on, because I feel like I'm going to destroy it. So I kind of feel like taking a break here and to come back to this project in an hour or so. So as for this stream, it looks like it will come to an end soon, but I'll be around for another 10 minutes or so if you guys want to talk about something. I have a good reference for the fingers on the feet. Where is it? It was at the beginning, I feel. Let me find it. There we go. That's an amazing simplification I felt for the feet. I'll probably be basing my progress on this. So that will be my next step. Probably not on stream, but I'll be recording it. Hopefully it will show up in some of my videos. So Maya apparently crashes for some people, is what Mr. Brandley says. If that's the case, that can be quite annoying. I hope they can fix that. Okay. I really like the basic material, by the way, for shading. It gives a very what is it? It tells me a lot about the depth, so I kind of like using it. I wonder if I should show you the project that I'm working on. Do you guys want to see it? I guess I don't have to ask, but... Yeah, see, I'm not the only person who hates making legs. There are other people too. I feel so understood. Okay. Let me see. I would like to bring the legs in. Right. But let me warn you, it's really not too great at this point. I kind of don't even want to see the head right now. But anyways, this is what I'm working on right now. And it might look a bit disturbing at this point. But it is what it is, and I'll try to... Let's see. I'll try to attach the legs just to see how it works. Well, you asked for it. You didn't have to see it. But it will look good at the end for sure. I know that much. So many comments. Who is saying what? Anyways, let me get this right. So in order to flip the legs, I don't rotate them usually. I use in the deformation tab the mirror button. So that works quite well. You can also scale them up here and position them. I usually prefer that compared to the other methods. Now let's see what the right size could be. Maybe something along these lines. And I'll need to remove the legs that we had previously. Otherwise, it doesn't work really well. Looks kind of fine, I guess. So I'll split them and I can just hide them here. And well, I guess we can fix a few things about the proportions. Like in the context, it might be a little bit off after all, but it's not too big of an issue. Just by moving them up a little bit, should be able to get them work in the model quite well. Like just by doing a few actions here, I think I got them already quite well in place. But see, this is, oh my god, I just lost a lot of volume down here. I might actually have forgotten an object. I feel like there's a missing part on the legs. But this is how I would approach it, and obviously, for those who are asking, how am I going to connect it? I'm basically just going to join them all together, and I'm using Dynamesh to get it all work. So let me try it. So this is now Dynameshed, everything is merged together, and I will now go in and you know, brush over the connections, the intersections, get things right, smooth things out. I'll use the trim dynamic a lot to polish things, and you know, this is generally speaking the progress of that I currently take. And there are artifacts and you will have to fix them obviously. But you know, with some brush strokes and some smoothing and some re-dynameshing, you will eventually get there, and it doesn't take too much time. And especially if you compare it with the polygon modeling techniques that I used to do, this is, even when you're slow, this is like a huge boost. And well, it's really not great at this point, and a lot is missing here, but I think you get the idea. I just wanted to give you a quick idea of what this workflow looks like. And so thank you for your comments. Yes. I don't know. Do you guys have any other questions? Otherwise, I'll call it a day. I'm planning to do a very long stream soon, but I'm not sure yet. It depends on whether... I almost overwrote my file. Never mistake open button with save as. That would have been a very good, not so good ending to my stream. But anyways, this is what we did today. Thank you so much to all of you for all the questions. We really had some good questions, I feel, today. And there was some educative value in it. In that case, let me thank you once again for coming, and I'll hopefully see you very soon. Bye bye.